Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Fitness Uncovered podcast, the podcast where we uncover the truths, the myths, the lies of the fitness industry. Gentlemen, please introduce yourselves.
My name is Jose, and you can find me at Lifting for the Better on both Instagram and TikTok.
I always got to plug the TikTok, don't you?
I don't know. I'm trying to grow.
He loves this
I'm trying to grow my social media.
It's just you're, a 30-year-old man.
Plus, his video style does really well on TikTok. He's pretty much the most comedic out of all of us.
Jose is the funniest fitness creator of the current modern fitness landscape.
Yes,
I don't know about that.
I would agree.
If you disagree, you have to check his Instagram.
I don't know about that.
Yes.
Yeah, go
you
check
be
it
the
out.
judge. You be the judge.
Yeah.
All right. My name is Andres. You can find me at AC_performstrong on Instagram and TikTok too. I am not as funny as Jose here, but I try. So there are some comedic posts on
How's
there.
that website coming
Yours are
along?
pretty good too.
My website is going to be launching in 2 weeks.
Woo! Let's go.
Yes.
Let's go.
Yes, it is 95% ready, and I have some really good stuff coming to you guys. It's going to be some free content, of course. We're going to have everything on there in terms of programming, everything.
Do you want to mention the project that we're all working on already? Give a little bit of a sneak peek.
Yes.
Producer, do you approve? Producer approves. So, in the background of the Fitness Uncovered sphere, we are number one. We have a trip together coming up in 2.5 weeks. Yep.
Yes.
Following that trip, we will start the production, the recording of a course that we are creating for the Fitness Uncovered viewers to learn more about everything that we talk about, basically. It'll be an all-in-one, all-encompassing course on how to change a program.
Yes, how to modify a program. For those of you that have programs at home, maybe you've already purchased a program from another coach, maybe one of us, or in the future, if you want to purchase any of our programs, not necessarily that we are coaching you, but just a program, and you want to modify it to fit you, that's where you're going to find how to do that.
Beautiful. So, yeah, cool things coming soon. Just please stay tuned and patient. We'll get back to you as soon as we can on that. For today, we're doing another Q&A, the second part of the other Q&A that we did the last episode, which was episode 10. Now it's 11.
Yes,
Correct.
now it's continued.
So different day for us, probably same day for you. So starting with the first question that we were discussing before we came here, does size matter?
Does it matter?
Yes, it does.
Yes and no.
Size does matter.
I don't think so.
So we know who's who.
I'm being humble because I am Brazilian and we tend to have big legs.
Big legs. Yeah, good choice of words there. Does size matter, Jose?
So
Why do you think it
size
matters?
Does matter if you're trying to maximize your strength potential. Okay, so the more muscle mass you have, then the more strength potential you will have, because you can turn all that muscle mass into strength and eventually set more PRs.
I disagree.
You disagree with that?
I think leverages are more important.
So technique.
Well, that is a part.
Technique, leverages, the angle through which you approach the bar is more
But what if you have the leverage,
efficient.
the technique, plus the size?
Oh, then now you have all three. Now you're a triple threat.
Yeah, we're just discussing if size matters, and I think it does.
Right.
Yeah,
So
you know?
size matters.
So what do you?
Right?
You don't agree with that?
I just think the other two are more worthwhile approaches to training.
But what I will say this, there are a lot of people that have the size, but don't necessarily know how to use it.
It's a psychological thing, because when you do have the size, you overlook the rest of the other things that are also important to create a very good
Complete.
movement pattern.
So that's when our expertise, we come in and we teach them how to use that size with proper programming.
There you go.
So if you're having trouble with your deadlifts, contact us for coaching.
If you're having problems with your arch, contact us for
The
your
arch,
bench press.
That's very true. Or watch NB Performance Instagram, because I
All
teach how to increase your arch.
In all seriousness, I do want to talk about something. Muscle size matters. It gives you the potential to do all of the things that we're talking about. So if you have the size, if you have the muscle size, then you can teach that muscle to be strong. You can teach that muscle to have coordination
Fast.
with other muscles around it. You can teach that muscle to contract fast. You can teach that muscle to do all of those things. So size does matter, but it's not the whole picture.
Correct. I agree with that.
Okay, I agree with that too. You convinced me.
All right.
I agree with the both of
Yeah.
you. I just think that size does matter.
We're gonna
Also the motion. The ocean.
we're gonna clip
The
just
motion of
this
the
part
ocean.
of the podcast, and we're gonna put it as a clip. Jose saying size matters.
3 things that are important: size, technique, and the motion of the ocean.
There you go.
Beautiful. And don't forget range of motion.
Range of motion.
That's
Whoa!
Big, right?
That one out.
Deep squats.
Gentlemen, I kind of want to get more personal here with this episode, and not to allude to the last question, because the questions that we didn't answer from the last time we were here, they're a little bit more personal to us, and I actually want both of you to tell your stories if you guys want to share that, because the question that I have for you now is it worth taking steroids?
Okay, so I'll go first.
Juicy topic to start.
Yes, very juicy. So the reason that I feel prepared to answer this is not something that we've talked about before on the podcast, but I have used external or exogenous testosterone, meaning I have injected testosterone into my body using steroids. I only used testosterone, so there are other derivatives of testosterone that are popular, like Tren, Deca, all of these other things that have different functions, slightly different chain of the RNA that you have with that compound. So the question is it worth it? If you are an athlete that is competing in a federation that all of the other athletes are also on gear, I would say it's probably worth it, especially if you're trying to be a professional and you're trying to compete and you're trying to make a career out of it. So if you're like a power lifter and...
I think that's huge.
Right.
The career thing.
You're right.
Because then that's your do or die.
Right, exactly. So that's your career. You're committing to this. I think that it takes a lot of education because it is hormones that you're dealing with. So it's important to understand that the long-term use of these things will affect your body long-term. So if you ever decide that you want to stop, it might be difficult. There are things that you're going to run into. There are problems that you might run into. There are problems that you might run into also while you're on it. The use of testosterone will also increase your estrogen. So if you're not taking the right things to manage that estrogen, you'll also get things like gyno. You also could get, depending on the compound that you're using, you could get enlarged organs, the palumboism type of thing. For me, and I think that for most people, it wouldn't be worth it because you kind of miss out on everything else that you need to learn through training. And that means that when you are taking testosterone, your body is going to be in an anabolic state the entire time that you're on that, which means even if you get suboptimal sleep, even if your nutrition is not totally on point, even if your training is not totally on point, you will most likely see results and you will think that what you're doing is enough or you should continue doing it, and you won't really understand what it really takes to build progress long term when it comes to training, when it comes to changing your body and everything, because you're just in such a ready state to build muscle, to get better, to get stronger, that you don't really pay attention to all of the intricacies that you need to learn so that you can continue to lift forever. Also, sorry that I'm taking over, but this is really important.
That's what we wanted.
You're putting out very good points.
With the use of testosterone, you're going to get really strong pretty fast. And we've talked about this before, that your connective tissue, so your tendons and ligaments, won't catch up to that strength of your muscles as fast as the muscles are getting strong. So you're actually more prone to injury. Having said that, you're also going to recover faster because that's also a benefit of training. So when you look at all of these professional bodybuilders and you look at their workouts, which is what a lot of people do when they want to find a workout, I want to get really big, let me look at what these professional bodybuilders are doing. The reason they're able to push that intensity and volume up so high is because they're taking testosterone or other anabolic compounds that allow them to recover extremely quickly and allow them to have that threshold of how much they can withstand in terms of volume and intensity and just mechanical stress way higher than the normal individual. Again, that's going to completely change your hormone profile long term, and some people won't ever get back to a regular testosterone level. Now, let's switch it up. And for women, now if we're talking about women taking testosterone, I think it's an even worse idea because women are way more sensitive to testosterone in general. women have testosterone, and it's actually women have more testosterone than they have estrogen. But when you start messing with the levels of testosterone in women, the effects are way more, let's say, drastic than they are in men. Some women can lose their periods. Some women, in general,
voice changes,
organs enlarge, all of these things, and it's even harder for them to get those hormone levels if they ever want to come off of it to get back to normal. So, to reiterate, if you're an athlete that is competing in, like, let's say you're a professional bodybuilder, and all of the professional bodybuilders are taking this stuff, yeah, you probably want to take some. If you're a power lifter and all of the power lifters are taking something, and you want to be competitive and win, you might want to take it. If you're not that person, especially if you're young, I don't think that
if you're 15 and you started lifting
Right.
6 months ago, probably not the time.
Not the time.
Not the time.
Now, if you're older and your testosterone levels start dropping, it is very normal for men after their 40s, 50s to get on a TRT regimen, testosterone replacement therapy, but that's a completely different subject that we can maybe talk about another time.
I mean, I don't know if you guys, yeah, sure.
Go ahead.
So I also took testosterone when I was younger. I was 22, I believe. I'm 31 now. At the time, I was trying to get into the bodybuilding space, and I wanted to do a physique competition. And it was my passion. You know, I had been training at that time for 5 years, and you know, I wanted to see more results. I was already some kind of experience. I was doing the whole meal prepping for 5 years consistently, training consistently, sleeping, did not party, did not drink. I was just 100% dedicated. That was my life. Decided to go that route because I was like, if I'm going to compete, everybody else is taking this stuff. And for me to have a chance, I will have to also participate on those things. And in reality, you don't have to, but I'm naturally a very competitive person. And I'm not going to go out there and, you know, make a fool out of myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, I made the decision. And I actually spoke to my family, and my family supported it. And I didn't do anything behind anyone's back. And so I did it. I agree with everything that Andre said. If you are being competitive and that's how you make your money, and it's going to help your career, and it's legal for you to do it within your federations or your leagues or associations, then
Usually it's not like necessarily legal, but it's not frowned upon.
Yeah, it's not frowned upon.
Not anymore.
Just understand the consequences. Just be like Andre said in the beginning. Andre's put out a lot of points. You have to educate yourself before you do it. And if you're willing to put up with the risks over the rewards, then that's your choice. And now we live now in a society in which it's not that frowned upon like it used to be. When in my generation it was, and so this is actually the first time that I'm ever talking about it myself to anyone else, because when I did it, you shouldn't tell anyone, anybody. But now, thanks to a lot of social media influencers and professional bodybuilders and powerlifters that have spoken a lot about it a little bit more openly, so it's more like received by the public.
Yeah.
But you know what Andres was talking about, the connective tissue issue. One of the reasons why I think I tore my Achilles tendon at such a young age was because I was growing too fast and my connective tissue just wasn't. And so playing basketball, not even doing anything aggressive at all, I was just jogging back to play defense. It tears and it just popped. But it was a blessing in disguise, because after that, I was able to be like, damn, I need to change the way that I train. I need to educate myself a little bit more about training. And that's when I started getting more into the mobility stuff and, you know, taking care of my body more, training connective tissue, training my joints, not just the muscle, not just the nervous system. And now I'm a much better trainer than I could have been if that wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, for me personally, I'm not going to do it again. There's no point of me doing it because I don't make my living out of it. And I'm pretty happy with just training and having fun with my training. And like Andre said too, like, you don't know, when you're taking that stuff, you don't know if your program is working. If it's the program, the reason why you're growing. If it's the food that you're eating, is it because you're recovering enough? No, because when you take that stuff, anything works.
Yeah.
Just go out there and train and annihilate your muscles, and they're going to be recovered the next day or the next couple of days,
right,
depending on how hard you train. But
way faster than if you weren't taking it.
So definitely, if I don't recommend for people to do it at such a young age. I did it too young, in my opinion. But I was ignorant. I I was just such in a rush like everybody else. Everybody's in a rush to try to get to those goals. But now that I'm much older, it's like, dude, you have your whole entire life to reach that. So,
and let me ask you something. How was your experience getting off of it? Because I want to touch on a couple more subjects that actually you reminded me of.
Yeah.
But I want to ask you that first.
So, I'll tell you this. When you're on it, you feel like a Superman.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you recover. You don't have to sleep that much. Like, I'm telling you, I was sleeping 5 to 6 hours a night, and I was up at 6 in the morning, ready to take over the world. Like, that was a time that I was going to school, too, and I was studying more than ever. I was training more than ever, and I was making more money at that time than I ever did before because I was so motivated all the time. But I knew it wasn't real, and I know that that's not going to be sustainable forever. When I got off of it, I actually did things the correct way. I slowly started reducing my doses. It's not like I just got off. By the way, I wasn't doing that much. I was just doing testosterone, cypionate. I didn't add tren or deca or anything like that. It's just testosterone. And so I did that. I slowly took it off, and then eventually I got into the post-cycle therapy.
HCG?
And you take HCG. So you inject yourself the HCG hormone to your subcutaneous fat in your stomach.
Like an insulin shot.
Like an insulin shot kind of thing, yeah. And so I never really had a bad side effect. I didn't feel depressed. I didn't feel unmotivated. It was kind of like a smooth transition for me. It's not like that for everybody. For me, luckily, it was. And so I was, after I finished, I went to the doctors, and a few months after I checked my blood profiles, and I was fine. My testosterone was fine. It was over 600. But maybe the drug was still there in my body. A few years later, I checked again, 3 years later, and my testosterone was at 1,000. And I was not on that stuff anymore. So I'm thinking that I'm pretty good. I'm fine.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I had a slightly different experience. Slightly is an understatement. I got off of it, or actually, let's say I got on it when I was about 24. And just like you said, literally day one, which day one you're not really getting the effects of it yet, but just the fact that I knew I was taking it, that was like one of the best workouts I've ever had. The entire time that you're on it, you feel like you're on top of the world. You're always in just like the mood to go, go, go. Now, obviously, and there's a lot of thought processes that say if you're on testosterone, you're more likely to be aggressive, all these things. What I think is that it heightens what you already have within.
Which, by the way, that didn't happen to me.
Me neither.
I was just super motivated and
Right.
super happy all the time.
Right.
Like, no aggressiveness whatsoever.
So, yes, but if you are maybe an aggressive type of person, it will maybe bring that out a little bit more in you. At least that's what I think, because I also, like you, don't necessarily relate to that thought process or that whatever people think. When I got off of it during right when the pandemic started, because obviously the gym's closed, my training completely changed. I didn't have the access to the gym as I was having before. There was a lot of things that I needed to change. So I wasn't training as much. I wasn't eating as much. I wasn't working towards the same goals that I was working for whenever I was on it. And I started school. There were a lot of things that were happening in my personal life. Don't need to get into those, but there were a lot of things that were happening in my personal life. It was very difficult to get off of it. And it took probably 8 months or more to feel normal again.
Did you go cold turkey?
No, I didn't go cold turkey. I did lower my dosage like Jose did, and I also took HCG. But I definitely felt for the first 3 months for the first month that I was off it, I still felt like I was on it. Then it started dipping, and then my weight started going down. I also, because of I had gotten a new job, I had gone back to school, so like everything changed. So like now, not only had I gotten off of it, but my training went down. So all of the things that would have naturally pushed my testosterone up were also declining. I had a very difficult time getting it back up to regular levels. Recently, about a year ago, I did a test, and it was around 700, 800. And that was on a day that when I was really stressed out and no sleep. So I'm assuming it's probably a little bit higher than that. But yes, it can be very difficult to get off of something like that, especially if you have things going on. If you have depression, which this is a whole subject that we can talk about, but the depression rates, especially amongst young men in today's world, is incredibly high. So, and a lot of young men are using these compounds. So if you're dabbling with these things and you have things going on and then you want to get off of it, understand that like it's going to affect your energy levels, how you feel, your mood, and it's gonna be a while. It's not gonna be a week, 2 weeks, a month, 2 months. It's gonna, for some people, it could be a year or more until you feel, if you even get there.
It depends on how long you've been taking them for.
And how high the dosage is and how many things you were taking as well. There are also things that are irreversible, like the gyno for some people. You know, you can get surgery and get rid of that. But yeah, these are all things that you just have to understand. So like what I would recommend, which I actually didn't do this, if you're going to do it and you're a professional, try to go the clinical route. Like if you can find a doctor, I know that there's a doctor, he's called on Instagram, Anabolic Doc, if you want to look him up. If you're interested in anything like that, learn from a professional. Learn from somebody that understands what they're doing and don't just listen to the person that's trying to sell it to you in your local gym, because they're going to sell you 4 times the dosage that you need and they're going to really mess you up for life. So
yeah, I was just doing 200 milligrams.
Exactly. So that's like a
week.
TRT.
Yeah,
that's like a TRT dose.
It was like nothing, but just that little nothing compared to what professional bodybuilders take. It was wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wonderful.
So, and the reason being, I want to explain this and we'll move on. The reason why you feel wonderful all the time is because when you take exogenous means coming outside of the body. Endogenous means that you're making it. So you have testosterone in your body. But the testosterone in your body fluctuates. Like your levels of testosterone fluctuate depending on when you eat your meals, when you work out. So like it goes up and down, how much you sleep, all of this stuff. So sometimes you feel really good, sometimes you don't. When you take exogenous testosterone,
it's like that. It's consistent all the time.
You're just riding that wave the entire time, always on that high, always on that high testosterone mood.
Dude, nothing could piss me off at that time.
Yeah.
Like, things will happen at work. I'm like, that's fine. Don't worry. I'll deal with it, Mike. Don't worry.
But yeah, so for me, I wouldn't take it again, just like Jose said. Unless for some reason I find that I am incredibly strong, and for some reason I hadn't found that out yet, and I decide to be a professional power lifter, but that's not gonna happen. So, yeah. So I wouldn't recommend it for anybody that isn't a professional athlete at a sport that allows the use of these compounds.
I agree. Yeah.
This is definitely when I shut up and listen, because both of you guys have a lot of experience with it. I have 0, and both of you guys started that in age which I haven't reached yet. So not only have you had the experience of doing it, coming out of it, it's like completely everything you guys just talked about, not even a clue.
Yeah.
So
well, but that's a good thing. That's a good thing that you
thing.
have gotten this far into your training career without even thinking about that.
It should be, for me, it was never. I never even like really crossed my mind.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Without even thinking about that. So, and that's what we were talking about.
And like I don't even like know a lot about it because I never really researched it either. You know.
Yeah. So you got to learn like, okay, this works. This doesn't work. When I do this, when I eat this much, I feel better. When I eat this little, I don't feel good. Whenever I have this much volume, I overwork. Whenever I have
trial and error cycle.
Right.
It took like 3 years for me to.
And that advantage comes because you come from a generation that YouTube already had that information out there.
Oh yeah, a lot of people.
My generation was when the YouTube thing slowly started. So there wasn't a lot of information on how to program, natural bodybuilding techniques or powerlifting techniques for athletes that are not on gear. That was not existent at the time when I started working out. The only information that I got was from Muscle magazine.
Yeah.
Health and Fitness magazine, which who was in those covers? Everybody that was on
bodybuilding.com.
Bodybuilding.com. And so that was the information you got. High volume training and you weigh 140 pounds, but you eat 220 grams of protein, 2 gallons of water a day. That was the information that we were getting.
And even 10 years ago, if you try to find a coach, what you would probably find is mostly bodybuilding coaches.
Yeah, there are very few strength coaches.
Yeah. So, and most bodybuilding coaches would be like, okay, so we're going to start with this program and you're going to take 1 gram of testosterone a week. And then next week we're going to bring in the DECA. And like, that's how it was, because that's how it happened with me. Like I got suggested several times throughout my early fitness career what regimens to take, and it's like, why aren't you taking this? And it's like, what do you mean, why am I? No, like, so, but I ended up taking it. So I was 24 when I started. I started with a higher dose. I started with like grams, so I was listening to these people.
Wow.
And then I ended up doing my research.
That's potentially probably why you had a higher, bigger issue coming out of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That was like a lot.
Even coming down to a lower dosage, I felt the difference. Yeah. Okay.
Cool.
That was good.
That was
Yeah.
a good story.
was
I like
quite the
both. Yeah,
information.
that was a lot. That was
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
information packed. I like the stories that you guys shared. That was really good segment to create.
Yeah.
Lots
Yeah.
out of.
And I think it's something that people need to talk about. I mean, obviously, there's like YouTube channels
Devoted to
devoted
this,
to,
yes.
to asking people, are you natty
Yeah.
or not? And a lot of people seem to hide it. We talked
It's
about
like it was a
Liver King.
taboo for so long. Nowadays, it's a little bit less. I think after the pandemic, there's a huge shift in the fitness industry after the pandemic because it became a lot more mainstream, I believe, especially with young people.
Mhm.
And they just love the crap out of this topic.
Yeah.
You know, and people just started being like, hey, by the way, I'm taking it. By
Yeah.
the way, I'm not taking it. Like,
I think the first guy that I heard say that openly that was like mainstream was Larry Wheels.
Yeah.
He was the first one to kind of like put out a.
Yeah, but come on, it's kind of.
Yeah. I
It's
mean,
kinda
it
obvious.
was obvious, but at least he was open
But,
about
okay,
it.
yeah, exactly. It's like, no, it was obvious, but you questioned it. Why? Because he hadn't spoken about it. You know, there's a lot of professional bodybuilders or professional fitness influencers that never speak about it, and you question it. You're like the Liver King. It's a perfect example. Everybody thought that he was, but at the same time you had that question. But maybe he isn't. Up until he got caught.
Yeah.
Now you
Yeah,
know,
exactly.
for real.
And I have a message for whoever is listening that maybe you're taking testosterone and you have a coach and you aren't telling your coach that you're taking testosterone. First of all, most likely your coach won't care if you're taking testosterone or not. Like if you're my client and you want to take testosterone, I just want to know that you're taking that so that I can take that into account in the way that I program for you. Because if you're taking testosterone,
You could take advantage.
I could take advantage of that as a coach. I'm not, by the way, if you're my client, I'm not advocating taking testosterone. Don't do it unless, like we said, you're one of those athletes. But definitely be open about it because the training could be different and you could reap more benefits because you're on this anabolic hormone.
You know, I get clients that ask me, oh, like I think the workout it doesn't have enough, and because the reason why is because before they get to me, they are watching all these people that take all those performance enhancement drugs, and when they buy their programs, what do you see? Like 10
Dude, it's
exercises. Crazy, like a total of 25 sets in one workout or more, minimum, something like that. And then they come to me and it's like a few exercises and they're like, oh, I finished my workout in 45 minutes. Is that enough? I'm like, yeah, like the important thing is that you're putting the intensity into that, plus you're not on drugs, so that's gonna be enough for you to make progress. They trust me, and when they trust me, they end up getting the results. Then they start slowly understanding that you don't need so much in order to make strength gains or
It's a
muscle
minimal
gains.
effective.
Minimal effective dose. That's what you need. But again,
Let's make that a question.
bodybuilders are taking all that stuff and they can they can be in the gym for 2 hours and their testosterone levels are still high. So yeah.
All right, so segueing, this is not a question that we had, but this is important. And I think we've talked about this before, but again, hopefully we have some new listeners. So we're going to make up a question on the spot. What is minimal effective dose? And why is it important for most people, especially since we're talking about people that are natural, not taking testosterone?
Yeah.
So what is minimal effective
The minimal
dose?
effective dose is the amount of training volume that will set a signal for your adaptation to happen. And so, like, if you can just, let's say, bench press a total of 3 sets in one workout, and then next week you are able to go up in weight, and you're still doing 3 sets. You don't necessarily have to go to 4, 5, 6, 7 sets. Like, if 3 sets is enough for you to get more weight each week, or you're seeing results in your body composition, then keep it at that. Like, there's no point of doing 5x5, because a lot of people come in and they're like, oh, 5x5, that's a program that everybody has to do for strength gains and muscle gains at the same time. Start with something more simple. If you never worked out before even one set is going to give a good effective dose for you to start getting an adaptation of getting stronger and bigger.
What's
and then little
the,
by little, as when you plateau there, then you can bump up a little bit more,
Yeah.
more volume.
It's like, what's the minimum amount of work you need to do to get what you want?
Right.
Like
Yeah.
more is not always better.
Exactly. The way that I always like to explain it to my clients is, if one set, let's say one set of an exercise won't give you a significant, and I know you said that it will, but I'm just trying to make the point. There is a certain amount of dosage that won't give you too many results. As you start bringing that dosage up, meaning more exercises, more reps, more sets, maybe more weight, your results, the progress that you're going to make, the signal that you're sending is going to increase. But it gets to a point where you start putting more and it doesn't equate to more progress. It starts leveling out. So the minimal effective dose is, how much work can I do to get the most amount of results without getting into that spectrum of now I'm getting diminishing results, where I'm doing a lot more work and getting a lot less for it.
Yeah, right. Because the reason why you can only adapt to what you recover from. So if you continue to go up in volume, just cause, and all of a sudden you see that from week to week your numbers are starting to decrease, that means that the fatigue is too high, and the fatigue is masking the potential strength that you can actually be outputting. And so if you see that happening, it's not that you're overtraining. You're kind of just doing too much. Just bring down the volume, and if you recover from that volume, you can then do more weight next week or do more reps next week.
This is a great way of explaining it, and I'm actually stealing this from GSP, George St. Pierre's strength and conditioning coach. Let's say that I have a person do 20 sets of legs. Let's say that person is doing one leg day a week. 20 sets of squats. I'm using just one exercise. Nobody would ever do 20 sets of squats, but I'm using one exercise just to make this point. 20 sets of squats in one day. How many days do you think that person's going to need to recover from 20 sets of squats before they can do another effective day of squats?
This is going to be more than a week.
Right. Now, let's change it up. What if I do 4 sets a day for 5 days, maybe 6 days? Now I have 24 sets of squats, and I recovered way more. I probably hit higher numbers because each one of those sessions I had more energy for. Now I'm beating it. I'm beating that other person that went all out and went way into the maximal dose. I'm giving smaller doses, and I'm compounding the effect of those doses over time.
So spreading out the volume throughout the week will be more effective than doing all the volume all at once.
Exactly. Right.
That makes sense in my head.
Yeah. Good.
Good with this question? Or
Good
the
with
made
this
up question?
Yeah, the made up question.
All right. Staying in the personal topics. How do you stay motivated to work out? I hate this question. I think we all have similar answers.
I hate this question, but I love answering it because I think that people really need to understand why this is not a good question, and everybody asks it. Everybody wants to stay motivated. Motivation is great. I love whenever I feel motivated, but I don't feel motivated all the time. Guess why?
Because you don't take testosterone.
That's a good one.
Good answer.
Yeah, that's a good answer.
Yeah. The reason that you don't stay motivated all the time is because it's a feeling. Motivation is a feeling. It comes and goes just like happiness. You're not happy all the time. So,
And you're never going to reach happiness.
you're never. No.
No.
What
You
is-
can
what even
have-
is that?
You can have happy moments, but you're not going to be happy all the time. And if you want to be happy all the time, then you choose to be happy.
Yeah. Exactly.
You choose to be
Yeah.
happy.
And then the relationship changes because happiness isn't just a feeling, it's being content with the present of what you have. So we're getting off topic, but
No, but I like this topic.
it is a
Yeah,
good topic.
It's important because it does have a lot to do with training.
100%.
Yeah.
It has everything to do with training.
Yeah.
Training is really an analogy for life, to be honest.
Yeah.
So you don't stay motivated because motivation is a feeling, and you can't train a feeling. You can't get better at feeling something. But what you can do is you can train your discipline. You can improve how disciplined you are towards something, and you do that by creating habits. So the way that you stay on track with your goals is not by relying on motivation. It is by developing your discipline. That's it.
It's the unfortunate answer that no one is looking for, but it's the truth. because it's gonna be, especially when you start working out, you're gonna be very motivated because it's a new endeavor, is a new thing that you're getting into, and you're seeing the results early in your training, because that's the time for you to have those newbie gains. But after a while, like, they start slowing down.
Yeah.
And then when they start slowing down, that's people start getting frustrated.
Yeah.
And now it's not about motivation anymore, because I'm done. My honeymoon phase with training is over. I've been at it for 11 years, a long time. Thank you for pointing out that I am the oldest one here. But yeah, I started training at 17 and I'm 31, and most days I'm not motivated to go work out. But I know the consequences of not working out. And what I'm doing is I'm still going to work out even though I don't want to go work out, because I'm investing in my body for the future. And either way, like, the hard part anyways is when you are not there. But once you start warming up and you start doing your workout,
It's automatic, eh?
automatically you start getting into it.
Yeah.
And then, so that's the hard part, just showing up. Once you show up and you start doing your warm up, all of a sudden you're in the mood. You put in your music if you like to listen to music, or you can hang out with your friend, or you can just work out by yourself and focus on your technique that day, or focus on, your strength numbers, hypertrophy training, whatever. Once you get into it, it's automatic. You just keep going.
Yeah.
That's what happens to me. Once I start working out, I'm good to go.
I'm actually going to bring out a little bit of the psychology knowledge that I have with CBT, cognitive behavior therapy. Basically, there's a cycle. It goes, your thoughts influence your beliefs, which influence your emotions, which influence your actions. It's called BTEA equation. And that's pretty much what runs in between your conscious and subconscious minds. Whenever you're throughout the day doing stuff, your 97% of your actions are subconscious. And so for you to change a behavior pattern, you have to dissect which part of that equation that you're operating faulty in and replace it with a new healthy habit, basically. And so the ability to detach, let's say, for example, action from emotion, which is what this question's about, is how you solve this problem, is detaching the emotion of motivation from the action of working out. It's basically a CBT technique, cognitive behavior therapy technique.
Yeah, and it is. Getting into the fitness industry and making it a lifestyle has a lot of psychology involved in it. So absolutely.
Which, by the way, you can use this for any other habit in your life.
Right, and that's where I was going to go. So let's take it away from training for a little bit, because let's say that it's not about training and it's about building a business, right? Like, let's say that you're creating your business, you're writing a book, going to school. How many times do you want to go to school? But you have to go to school because you know that at the end of the day, at the end of the year, at the end of your career, it's going to be worth it. It's going to pay dividends. You're going to be able to use what you have built up. But you have to go through those days that you don't want to necessarily go. And that builds character. And going back to what we talked about in the cardiovascular episode, doing something difficult, doing something that you don't want to do, that in of itself is going to give you benefits. It's going to build that character, and it's going to build that discipline. It's going to make you grow as a person.
Right, it's like you said, the gym is one of the best analogies of life. And the thing is, like, when you get better at doing things at the gym, you get better everywhere else, because you develop that muscle of discipline. And so when you get discipline with one thing, it's easier to get discipline with something else, and more things and more things. But yeah.
Do you know about serotonin and the reward systems of your brain? If you read 12 Rules for Life from Jordan Peterson, that's the first.
I haven't read it, but I do want to read it.
It's a very good book. And basically, he talks about, you've probably heard of him talking about lobsters or anything like that.
Yeah.
The whole lobster thing. So whenever you do create wins in your life, you release more serotonin in your brain. And that makes your brain perceive yourself as higher in socioeconomic status, which is higher in social hierarchy. It is more likely that the lobster that wins a fight will win more fights against other lobsters. And that's a great analogy for the rich will keep getting richer, the fit people will keep getting fitter, because it's already, like, they already got the win.
Right.
The more you win, the more serotonin you release, the more likely it is for you to keep winning.
Which is why goal setting is so important.
Yes.
Yes. So if you piggybacking off of that, if you set only one goal, and that goal is to build 50 pounds of muscle, it's very likely that you're gonna quit.
Yeah.
Because
there's no win there.
There's no
gonna
win.
take
You
so
gotta
long.
give yourself a few rewards on the way there to keep the momentum.
How about your first goal be, I want to go to the gym for a month consistently? Boom. Right. You hit that, Now it's going to be way easier to get that next month and add on the goals and add on the goals. So, yeah.
Good with this question as well.
Good.
All right. Staying here at the bottom of the list. This is an interesting question following the previous conversation topic that we were talking about. How do you get as big as possible as quickly as possible? Oh, sorry.
Just reset the question. I'll cut this.
Reset the question? Okay.
I was telling you, tilt yours back a little bit too, because you don't speak into the top, you speak into the side.
Okay.
like that.
Sorry. All right.
That's good.
All right. Moving on.
Erect. What?
All right. Erect microphone. You gotta speak into it erect. Nice.
Telling you, man, size matters.
How do you get as big as possible as quickly as possible without a woman involved?
Are we gonna keep that in?
I don't know.
All
Are we?
All right. All right. So, how do you get as big as possible, as quick as possible? This is a weird question because big is very broad.
Careful where you're taking this.
Yeah, we're just staying in that topic, man. Yeah, big is so like what I'm talking about is it like, do you want to just bulk, like dirty bulking? That's very popular. A lot of people dirty bulk. So the best way to get as big as possible, as fast as possible, is to eat as much as possible. Like that is the verbatim answer to the way that question is worded. But if we're gonna, I know what this person probably means, and it's building muscle.
Yeah.
So the best way to get as big as possible, as fast as possible, is to eliminate that question and just be consistent. That's what I have to say about that. Because there are many methods for growing muscle. They're all effective, but the main thing is how consistent you are.
That is such a good point, because people are always looking for the next method.
Right.
The best one.
The next best one, the optimal one.
The one that's gonna solve all your
The
problems.
one's going to solve all your problems. Like the quick fix, there's none.
The gym is the most fair place in this world, and I'll tell you why.
You can't cheat it.
You cannot cheat it. Let's say that you go into the gym, because this question has a lot to do with how much you are willing to put in. If you go to the gym and you give it 60% effort, you're going to get 60% results back. And if you go home after that gym session and you start messing around with your food and you start cheating on your diet and you get bad sleep and you start getting stressed out from work, that comes out of that 60% that you put into the gym. And there's no way around that unless you're taking steroids.
In other words, it's all your fault if you don't get big enough.
I love that answer. I love being told that.
Yeah,
Because you know why? Because it means it's in my control to change it.
exactly. Exactly. The best way that you can get as big as possible is you need to literally dial in, get a coach, track your food, make sure that you're eating clean, you're staying healthy. The nutrients that you're putting into your body are not going to be inflammatory, so no crap foods. You're training well, you're following a program that has progressive overload, that has variety, that is taking care of all of the things that need to be taken care of, that is strengthening your lowest hanging fruit, and is also focusing on all the movement patterns and all the muscles, because obviously we're talking about hypertrophy. So we're talking about building muscle.
But it will only work if you put in the right intensity, intention into each of those things that we just discussed.
Exactly.
There's a phrase that I love that says, if you're not in shape, guess whose fault that is?
Yeah.
You?
Yeah.
But in all reality, the best way to get as big as possible, as fast as possible, is to take steroids.
Oh, I thought you were going to say like buy Twinkies.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
But yeah, take steroids and buy Twinkies.
Apparently can get big with
Yeah.
Twinkies on steroids.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Oh yeah.
Beautiful. Staying near the same topic, which is more or less with consistency, how often should one work out? Broad question.
Here we go.
It
Ready?
It all
Three.
depends.
3.
2, 1.
It
It
depends.
It depends.
There you go.
Depends on your goal. Depends on how
Long you've been training for.
long you've been training for. What can you recover from?
Depends
How,
on your
how much do you
availability.
work? Yeah.
Do
Yeah.
you
Do
work?
you have kids? Do you have
Like
a husband? Do you
kids.
have a,
What if I told you that it's 7 days a week, but you only can work out 2? So what are you gonna do with that information? It doesn't work for you.
Right.
So, how many days should you work out? More than you're currently doing, most likely. if you're not doing anything.
Yeah.
Like if you're doing 0, 1,
It's
2,
better
all
than
is
nothing.
valid.
Yeah.
That's valid. But not as much as you possibly could do, if that makes any sense.
So like
So
not,
minimal
not-
effective dose.
Yeah, minimal effective dose. So not 7 days a week, 100 sets per week.
Yeah. Yeah. In general, like if you're starting to work out, I'm just gonna give a progression of how people. The question was how many days, right?
How often?
Right. If you've never worked out before in your life,
Sorry, dude.
a good place to start would be 2 to 3 days a week. 2 to 3 days a week, 45-minute workouts, full body, not necessarily a ton of volume, just very basic squats, hinges, pushes, pulls, maybe some mobility, some trunk work. As you start getting results and maybe those results start plateauing out, maybe you could add another day if you have the availability. Repeat that process, keep going, keep progressing, keep increasing the volume, increasing the intensity. If you stop seeing results again, add another day. So it really depends on your training career, it depends on your availability, it depends on so many things. But as a rule of thumb, it has to be whatever you're available.
What would
Whatever
you say the
you can
minimum
be.
is?
I would say the minimum is 2.
I agree with that.
Yeah, 2.
Is 2. Yeah. And to put it in one sentence, how many days should you work out? As many days as you can be consistent with. That's it.
Agreed.
Yeah. Segueing from that as well, how many rest days? How often do I need a rest day?
1, 2, 3. It depends.
So these are very broad
I think,
questions,
I
man.
think, I think it goes like everything that we just discussed of how many times should you train. It kind of goes the same for how much should I rest. You know, like how much volume can you recover from, or like how much time do you have in the gym, or I don't know how many days a week do you go to the gym? Like it's. Yeah.
I think this is one of the, and I hate to say this, but I think this is one of the situations where age kind of matters in terms of recovery, because recovery tends to not be so well
The older
as
you
you get older.
Yeah.
I hate to say that because people tend to use age as an excuse for most things, but in this scenario, in terms of how many rest days you could be, or how much rest, how much you should invest into recovery, as you get older, you need to invest more into recovery. That doesn't mean that you need to take more rest days, but you need to focus.
Right.
On
I was
recovery
going to
more.
point that out because I was talking about rest days or recovery. Because recovery, you can still be active during a recovery day.
the
Right.
question is, how often do I need rest days?
Rest. So like
Rest
do
days.
nothing.
Do nothing.
Nothing.
You technically don't need that.
I would say
You
never.
know, never. Yeah. I mean,
Go on a
if you
walk.
could do something physical every single day, it doesn't have to be intense. That would be the ideal.
Exactly.
Not only because of the physical benefits, but it also keeps you mentally
Right.
in the pocket.
Movement is the best medicine out there.
We were just talking about how programs used to be with super high volume and all these things because of people that are on certain anabolic hormones. If you're following those workouts, you're going to need rest days. But if you're following a workout, like if you're following any of our workouts, the way that at least I program for my clients is I make sure that I manage the stress that I'm putting through the program so that you don't need rest days. If you don't have the availability and you need to take a rest day because you don't have the availability to go to the gym that day, then that's something different.
Right.
But you could technically work out all 7 days of the week, and if you know how to manage your workouts so that you can get recovery in through those workouts, and maybe not every workout is max effort, then you don't need rest days.
Right. Because even a recovery workout can be, you can actually go. Let's say you're
It'd be better.
You're a powerlifter and you want to go do something at the gym because you're bored, or you can still go to the gym. You can still do a barbell squat. It's just you're not gonna load it up like you said, max effort, but you can still work on your technique. Keep just the bar, or use like, I don't know, 20 to 40% of your warm rep max, and do a few sets to perfect your technique and stuff like that, and just hone in for the next workout, to prepare yourself for the next workout. So that's just an example, because you can do that with basketball or
Yeah.
volleyball or whatever, baseball. Like these people basically practice every single day in a
Yeah.
way, somehow.
Situations where I would recommend a rest day for a client would be like they've been traveling, they've been working, they haven't gotten any sleep,
Or
and
food.
they're like, I really want to come in and work out. Okay, maybe stay home and get some sleep.
Right, and get some good food, replenish yourself.
Right. Right. Because then, like, even what we're talking about in terms of movement, like, do they need that? I don't think that's necessarily going to give them more energy. Like, if they're running on fumes, they're getting no sleep, they're stressed out, you know, maybe they went on a flight, a red eye or anything like that, then yeah, stay home.
Right. That's a good answer.
But other than that, yeah, you can manage stress through programming, through proper programming.
I got a lot of the how questions. How often this? How should I do this? How should I do that? But there's one here that stood out to me that says, how long should my workouts be? What do you think?
There's a lot of debate on this because I've heard some professional coaches talk about keeping the workouts less than an hour. Some have said an hour and a half. Some have said however long it takes. Because it's all going to be depending on who you are. Because if you're a powerlifter that is squatting 600 pounds, 700 pounds on a weekly basis, there is no way you're going to do a workout in an hour. It's going to take about 30 to 35 minutes just to warm up to that kind of weight.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got to do your working sets.
And also,
will also
if
take a
you're
long time because you're going to take about
rest.
2 to 4 minutes to fully recover from that previous set to hit that weight again. So powerlifters spend between an hour and a half to 3 hours per workout.
I remember I saw Thor Bjornsson when he did the deadlift world record. He posted his structure program to hit the world record. And throughout his workup sets, it went from like a 2-minute rest in the first one, then 3, then 5, then 10, then 15, then 20, and then 30
Jeez.
minutes
Wow.
before hitting his
Oh my
world
God,
record.
30-minute rest?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, but that's a 1,000-pound deadlift or more. It was, I don't know if it was 1,000, almost 1,100.
Right.
So like, yeah, you're gonna need those 30 minutes.
So again, the answer is it depends, because how advanced are you and what are you doing? You know, what's your sport? I think that for a general public, if you just want to be working out because you're trying to stay healthy, have good body composition, I like to keep it at an hour with my clients, with myself as well. I don't like to be in the gym more than an hour. 45 minutes will be ideal.
Mm-hmm.
I think that with 45 minutes, you can give 100% to every single set. And that's more efficient than just like after an hour, you kind of start getting all like lethargic. Like by the time you get to the last exercise, you kind of just want to go through it and you're not really focusing that much. You're just kind of like checking the boxes by doing, let's say, you got a triceps and you got to do like 3 sets of 12 to 15. You kind of just like, I'm out. I got to go, you know? So like I think that the shorter it is, 45 minutes to an hour, if you're a average Joe, I think that's the best in my opinion. But if you're a professional, it's going to be more.
Longer.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to break a stigma here, which is the stigma of if you don't complete your workout, if it's not long enough, then it's not effective, right? Your body doesn't register that as like, oh, you didn't hit an hour, so it wasn't
It
effective.
wasn't a workout.
If anything, I have played around before. I think I've talked to you about this, where if I have the chance, I like doing this, where I'll hit my heavy lifts in one session, and if I have time to come back to the gym later, I'll do my accessory
I've
lifts
totally done that before.
in a
during
different session.
prep for the meets all the time.
Right. So technically, my workout is like 30 minutes and then maybe another 20 minutes afterwards. So somebody would look at that and be like, oh, that's a super short workout. How is that effective? Your body doesn't understand that it's 2 different workouts. It's just getting stimulus. So it doesn't really matter how long your workouts are. There is science that will say what Jose was saying about getting lethargic after a certain amount of time, using up your glycogen, all of those things. I'm going to go back to the psychology part, which I think is the most important. How much time do you have so that you can be consistent? If that's 30 minutes and science says that the best workouts are 45 to an hour, do 30 minutes. Because 30 minutes doing consistent workouts that you can actually get to consistently and complete them is going to be more effective than
Hitting your head on the wall. trying to
Whatever
get
the
45
science is
minutes.
saying, because like the
Exactly.
science takes subjects, but those subjects, they're not you,
yeah,
and they just
yeah,
the results are based on those subjects.
exactly. So
And like you
Your-
say, it's psychology. So
yeah, your workout, obviously, like as you progress, it might get a little bit longer, but You can make an effective workout with 20 minutes. You could also make an effective workout with 1 hour. You can make an effective workout with an hour and a half. It's about the program, not the time and is it effective or not. I could do one set and make it real effective. I could get literally a 15-minute workout and get a good workout in 15 minutes. So it just depends.
Something to add to that?
I don't think so. I think I agree with you. And when you first said that, after a little bit of time, I'm like, F this, I gotta get out of here. Like, I got other stuff to do. But at the same time, when I was younger, I wanted to spend as much time as I possibly could in the gym, because that's when you were in your novel honeymoon years. You want to just do everything all the time and try everything as many times as you can.
My dad used to tell me, he's like, what are you doing in the gym for 3 hours? Yeah. Like, what are you doing?
The answer is everything.
And I was like, oh, I'm getting big, and he's like, you don't need to do 3 hours. You can just do 1 hour, come back and, study. And I was like, you don't know anything, but he knew.
Yeah. I will say there is science that says that the metabolites that you create by getting the pump, so that burning feeling, is anabolic itself. So that itself will build muscle. So like, especially if you're trying to grow muscle and do a hypertrophy workout, you want to spend enough time so that you start getting that pump, and it also feels great. So, yeah.
Kind of like Arnold says.
Yep. What does Arnold say, by the way?
That he's it feels as good as ejaculating.
Yes. I think we should put a clip of that, him saying that, because I know that there's a clip of that somewhere.
Yeah. That's your job, bro. Hit us up. Beautiful. What is the best time of the day to work out?
Oh, I like this
I
question.
love this question too, because I have a very specific answer.
I think everybody has a specific answer.
You go
Yeah?
first.
So I may be wrong about this because I'm not an expert in hormonal function whatsoever, but I have seen before some evidence that for guys, your testosterone tends to peak in the late afternoon, right before evening. And so I always, and personally, anecdotally, I feel the best around 5-6 p.m. when I train, personally.
Have you ever wondered maybe as to why that might be? Because I have an idea.
I do too, but I may be wrong, and I want you to say yours first.
I might be wrong as well.
Okay.
So, I also agree with you. I like mid-afternoon, not too late, but like mid-afternoon.
In between 4 and 6, that's
Right.
Yeah.
The reason for that, I think, is because I've been awake for a little bit, so it's not, but not too long that I'm getting lethargic, and I've probably had a few meals.
Yeah.
So I'm fed, which also spikes your muscle protein synthesis, and it also probably spikes your testosterone levels
And other hormones.
and your other hormones. So it makes me feel like I have a better training session. I also have more glycogen in my body, which makes me have more energy. So I agree with you. However, I'm going to go back. People are going to hate me right now. I'm going to go back to the same thing. What time do you have available to work out? Because, for example, I have most of my clients that are the most consistent and get the best results are early morning clients because they have jobs, bankers, CEOs, business owners, whatever. They have to be at work all day. The only time that they can work out is in the morning. So, again, it doesn't matter what science says. It matters when you can do it and be consistent. Sorry, I've said that like 5 times now in the podcast.
Shut up.
I agree with both what you guys said. That's what I was going to say. I do prefer to train when I have a few meals already in my stomach and also when I'm awake for a few hours. But I've trained in all hours of the day throughout my whole, training career, training journey. I've trained at 5 in the morning. I have trained at 11 p.m. I have trained midday, and I have trained at 5, 6 o'clock. I will say that I hate 5, 6, and 7 o'clock because the gym is packed at that time.
You're talking about PM.
PM, yes. Hate it. The workouts are great, but I hate it. I'm that guy that I want to go to the gym and get out. And at those times, it's impossible because there's a lot of people there, and you cannot get a machine, you cannot get a bar, you cannot get a dumbbell, you cannot get a bench. It sucks. Right now, I'm in my favorite time because I have a gym at home, so I can just... Yeah. After my first session of morning clients, I have the noon time, and that's when I have my lunch, and then I go to my gym, and no one is bothering me. So this is my favorite time to work out right now in my life, but the least favorite one is in the morning because you gotta wake up, get to the gym. You gotta warm up your body longer than usual because you haven't moved the whole night. You're in kind of in a time crunch because you gotta get to school, or you gotta get to work, or you gotta get to to the kids and take them to school. So that's my least favorite time.
But I will say something about that, because anecdotally, with my clients that work out that early, they also report more energy level throughout the day.
Throughout the
when
day,
they work out
after you're
in the
done,
morning.
you feel amazing.
Right.
I'm just saying when you wake up and you get to the gym, it
Getting
sucks.
there, it's terrible.
It sucks. It's terrible.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
It's terrible. So what I was gonna say is, why are you working out? So some people work out because they want to stay healthy and they want to feel good. They want to have those energy levels. If that's the case, maybe in the early morning would be a good idea for you, because then you'll have more energy throughout the day. Your circadian rhythm will be better. You'll be more tired earlier in the night, which means you're gonna get better rest. The later on you work out, you probably won't get those benefits of deeper sleep. Like if you train late at night, you actually are probably not gonna feel like you're sleeping too well. So yeah, it depends on why you're training. For me, my training is based on performance, getting stronger, building the most muscle that I can. So like we talked about, I prefer having meals, having glycogen in my system, having energy, being awake, and that's around midday for me.
Yeah.
You know, I never hit a PR in the morning in my life.
It's hard.
It's really hard.
It's hard.
Ever.
Well,
Like on anything.
Since you're gonna be competing, you're lifting in the morning, my friend.
Oh,
So,
yeah, bro. You're in the lower weight class.
You're in the lower weight
Well,
classes.
I'm used to waking up at 4 in the morning, so I guess it's not gonna be that bad.
So just know that it's not Nick's program that is bad if you don't get PRs
Yeah.
that day.
Dude, the one time, remember Georgia, Atlanta?
Yeah.
It was my only time competing in the morning, and I didn't know that until the day before. They literally switched up. I was supposed to be afternoon, and they pulled a bunch of people back like the day before to the morning. I was like, I'm competing at 7 in the morning, and it was 30 degrees out because it was Atlanta in like February. I was cold. I had elbow pain. I was miserable. I was tired. I was hungry. I was sad. I was cold. It was raining.
You were cold.
What
No, I'm
shirt
just
were you
kidding.
wearing?
My black lifting for the better shirt. But dude, it was a disaster to warm up.
I bet.
Yeah.
I bet.
You still did pretty well.
It was okay.
Oh, what
It was
happened?
okay. Yeah. But the next one was a lot better. I will say that. Cool. This one's done. Have very few left, gentlemen. Kind of like sparsed out. Oh, just kidding. I like this one. What are DOMs, and can you exercise with DOMs?
I
DOMs.
want you to go with that because you got pretty good definitions.
Andres at the library.
Yeah, he's a.
And by the way, I do want to get into the
What are you looking at?
the exercise, the tools.
What are you talking about? Okay, answer the question. I'll look for it.
Yes. Exercise tools, workout tools. So, DOMS. DOMS stands for delayed onset muscle soreness. And a lot of people gauge their workout effectiveness based on how sore they are the next day. That's not a good tool to use to figure out if you're progressing or not, or if you're doing the right things. What soreness is damage to the muscle, so the muscle hurts afterwards. Especially DOMs. So soreness, there's different kinds of soreness. Like if you're sore, sometimes you can be sore like the day of the workout. Delayed onset muscle soreness usually refers to, like the name suggests, that you start feeling sore, not even the day after, but the second day after. Usually this is related to overtraining. So what I tell my clients to look for is that if you feel sore without moving, you probably are overdoing it a little bit. But if you can look for your soreness and feel it, you're probably doing okay. Another way that you can use soreness as a tool to gauge if things are going right or wrong is if you have problems feeling specific muscles, body parts. So like, let's say that you don't feel your glutes during a certain exercise.
The hip thrust.
The hip
Because
thrust.
that happens sometimes.
Right.
Some people feel like their quads or something like
Exactly.
that. Yeah.
If you're sore the next day in your glutes, then you're probably using if you're doing a hip thrust, you're using glutes. Let's get that straight. Like
you should be using glutes.
Well, the glutes are firing
Right.
regardless of what it is. Obviously, there's more or less engagement depending on technique, depending on capability of contractility of that muscle, but your hips cannot extend without your glutes firing.
Right.
So the glutes are firing. But you definitely can use soreness as like, okay, if you're, let's say, working your rotator cuff and the next day your rotator cuff is sore. Okay, you use your rotator cuff. But let's say that you did a rotator cuff exercise and then the next day your rhomboids are sore. Maybe you did something wrong. So that's a way that you can use soreness to gauge if things are going right or wrong. But in terms of DOMS is not something that you want to be looking for. That's my opinion.
No, I agree, because that means you're going to be fatigued for a longer period of time. So that means you're going to take longer to recover from your workout, and you won't be able to hit that muscle again until the soreness and fatigue comes down. And so the longer you're sore, the less opportunities for you to stimulate that muscle again.
At least effectively.
I think there's two groups of people here when it comes to DOMs. It's the people that love getting DOMs and the people that hate getting DOMs.
Oh, dude,
I love getting DOMs, by the way. Like, I like the feeling of it.
Yeah.
I just know that it's not
right.
what you want.
I have clients that love that, and no matter how much I educate them on that subject, they're like, no, I want to get sore.
Yeah.
Yeah. They just love it.
Segueing into the next question, is it okay to be obese and still want to lift? Is it safe? Is it recommended? What do you think? Please feel free to mention.
Safe to lift while you're obese.
That's the question, and feel free to mention body positivity movement in your
Okay.
answer.
Yes, absolutely. It's safe to lift if you're obese, and you should be doing it. It's probably the best thing that you could do to combat the things that the risk factors that obesity bring to the table. So recently, there's been a lot of literature trying to compare if it's necessarily the high body fat percentages that bring the risk factors or the low muscle mass percentages that bring the risk factors. It seems to be that both do. So if you're obese and you have low muscle mass, you're in twice as much risk for all of these health risk factors that we have, like heart disease, cognitive disease in later age, just muscle wasting, arthritis, autoimmune issues, all of these different things. So if you're obese, the best thing that you could be doing is focusing on building muscle so that you can get rid of that part of having low muscle mass. But also, you want to build an engine, which is the muscle, that's going to help you lose body fat once you're ready to lose that body fat.
So your point is that it is not healthy. It is healthy to be lifting while you're obese. Yes.
Okay. The way that this question is being asked is confusing me, because yes, if you're obese and you're lifting, that's a healthy thing to do.
Okay.
Being obese is not healthy.
Got it.
What would you say to the people that say, I am happy with the way that I look?
I am happy for you that you are happy with the way that you look. But that doesn't mean that you could be happier if you were healthier. A lot of people, I think, get used to the way that they are feeling. And we do live in a society that is very sensitive and very accepting of things that might not be healthy. Being obese is a big one because it is very clear, and there's no debate on this. This is not like an opinion of
the science proves it that it is not good for your body, and your risk of mortality is super high.
Yeah, absolutely.
Super high.
Your risk of getting heart disease, of getting dementia, your risk of getting lung problems, of
diabetes,
high blood pressure, all of those things is through the roof whenever you are obese, especially obese and even overweight, but obese, definitely. I've met people that are obese that are healthier than people that aren't obese, if that makes any sense. So like, let's say that we have somebody that is obese and they start getting a healthier lifestyle and start eating well. They're still obese. They're lifting. They're still obese. And I compare them to, let's say, a bodybuilder that is like dirty bulking, doing all these exogenous things, taking a bunch of supplements that they don't need to, eating crappy foods. I could probably say that the person that is obese might have better health markers than the person that isn't, but that's besides the point. What we're talking about here is that for sure, if your body fat percentage is lower, your muscle mass is higher, and you have good nutrition, you're nourishing your body, you are healthier. Yes, you can be healthier at higher body fat percentages, but there's definitely a threshold. There's definitely a threshold that, like, if you're past 30%, even maybe, like, depends if you're a woman or a man, but if you're past 30%, like, you are going to be suffering at some point from some things that you could definitely get rid of by just getting healthier, and which means losing some weight, losing some body fat, adding some muscle, and feeding yourself well.
Right. I agree with everything you said. Yeah.
I think the biggest detriment to I mean, specifically not the way this question was asked, I think, but the whole movement itself of the whole term fat phobic that is thrown around online a lot of times, trying to prevent people from coming into the fitness space because they're forced to accept the body the way that it is right now for the sake of it being comfortable and not feeling bad about it.
Yeah.
I think that prevents a lot of people from reaching a healthier point where they would not have the problems that you listed earlier.
Yeah.
Right. So, like Andre said, if you're happy the way you look, then that's good for you. Just don't say that you are healthier than a person that is at a lower body fat percentage and has more muscle mass. Maybe you're healthier mentally, but not physically. Those are two different things.
And I'll say this.
Because maybe you are happy with the way you look,
Yeah.
but physically, it's not.
Like that
it's
won't
not
change the
healthy.
science. That won't change biology. It won't change physiology.
exactly.
The way you feel about your body.
I'm going to say something controversial, and I'm going to get maybe some hate for this, but I'm going to say it anyways. Yes, there are people that are heavy set, that are happy. That I believe. I also think that there are people that are using this movement as an excuse
To not train.
to not train and to not fix their life.
Hammer and a
Because
nail, baby.
Now that there is this movement of body positivity, you can be healthy at any body size. Now that's like a safety net for people that they know how hard it is to get to the place where they really should be. But now I have a built-in excuse that, like, oh, you're shaming me because I have this lifestyle and I don't want to change this lifestyle. So I'm going to say that I'm healthy. And I'm gonna say that you are insultive, and you're in the wrong for telling me that I should change my lifestyle.
And that has way less to do with fitness. It has way more to do with personal responsibility.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Because if you change the subject and talk about a drug addict, what if a drug addict said, "Oh, I'm happy the way that I am. I'm happy with what I'm doing." Is that healthy? No.
No, it's
No,
again,
it's not healthy.
happiness and being healthy is two completely
No.
different
And I
subjects.
would
and
also
it's
argue
different.
that those people are not happy, which the thing that I'm talking about, the people that are, it's essentially virtual signaling. So I don't think those people are truly happy. I think those people are lying to themselves. They want to be happy, but they don't want to do the work that it takes to get to that place where they can really be proud of themselves and be happy. I know that's going to ruffle some feathers, but that is the truth.
As it should,
yeah,
dude.
yeah.
As it should. Like, it's going a little bit too far in the recent years,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Yeah.
And that doesn't make us fat phobic. We're just bringing out the facts.
And
Like,
even,
it's-
who was it? I think
like-
it was,
like we said, if you're happy, that's fine. Just understand the consequences and understand that physically it is not healthy.
yeah. Yeah.
And you shouldn't try to stay there,
And you shouldn't try to. I mean, yeah, it's
ideally.
ideally, if that is if you care for your health, if you care for your physical health, don't stay there. Like it's
If you cared
fix
for
it.
if you cared
but
for
if
your
you
dog,
but if you don't care and you're happy the way that how things are and you're okay with taking medication, you're okay with dying earlier, that's fine.
yeah,
Like, that's
love
fine.
yourself.
Love
And loving yourself
yeah.
means doesn't mean like you should always love yourself for who you are, but loving yourself also means taking care of yourself. If you love your dog, you're not gonna let him get obese and have all of these issues. Another thing, I don't remember who it was. I think it was Megan Trainor, the artist, that she used to be obese and she lost a lot of weight and she got shamed for it. Like
Yeah,
people
and
shamed her.
also
bro. That's crazy.
Adele as well. Adele
yeah,
as well.
they shamed her
Adele as
for
well.
for getting healthier. Like, how crazy is that? That there's somebody out here understanding the benefits of better nutrition, better body composition, building muscle mass, dropping body fat, wanting to improve themselves as a person, and people, because of this movement of body positivity, are shaming these people that are getting healthier, that are doing something good for themselves, just so that they can feel better about them not doing it. That's crazy to me.
An important point that needs to be made is that exercising is not just for looking good. When you're trying to build muscle and you're trying to get stronger, it's not for just your own vanity reasons. It's also for the health reasons, for you to have a longer life, higher quality of life. And so I think a lot of those people that, get pissed off about that, they think that, oh, the people that are working out, they're just vain. No, it's not. They're not. Some can be vain, but not necessarily all of us are vain when it comes to that. We're doing it because we're trying to have a higher quality of life. Like the healthier you are physically, the more you can do. Then you can achieve more goals in your lifetime and enjoy more things in life that you would like to enjoy.
Bro, I don't even buy the whole vanity thing either. Because if you are working out to train, if you're training to look a certain way, if that's going to inspire you to change other things, then go ahead and look good. I think I don't think that needs to be a vanity description to training anymore.
Maybe you'll change your mind once you do your bodybuilding competition.
Well, so okay, hold on, but that's different because hold on, that's because you're competing aesthetically. That's a whole different
Right,
different thing.
right,
That's
right.
not inspiring because at that point you're pushing it a little bit too far.
Yeah.
Because that's the whole point of it.
It's competitive. It's professional.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think if you do have a body in which you look good in, and there is an objective aesthetic. There is an objective beauty to the human body. That's why the sculptures of ancient Greek are all jacked. All of them are jacked because they all thought those bodies were beautiful. Because they are.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm sorry, but the people that do not look like that are objectively less beautiful than they were.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, when we talk about beauty, when we talk about attractiveness, like really it comes down to evolution. Really it comes down to
If you have more
choosing a
muscle, you're
partner.
capable of doing
Right.
more stuff, bro. Like,
Not just that, but choosing it, like when it comes to relationships, choosing a partner that you think is going to be favorable so that you can pass on your genes to your child. So if you have a partner that is obese and has poor health and all of these things, then like
That's going to get passed down to the
it's going to get
offspring.
passed on. So these are not things about like, obviously everybody can meet their soulmate and all of that. Love is in the air. But
Valentine's Day.
there is some type of biology there. You do have biology within you that is going to somewhat determine your preferences in choosing a partner. And some of that is selectability of what you're going to pass on.
Just like female peacocks, like the male peacocks with the biggest, prettiest feathers.
Exactly.
The same thing happens to humans.
Size
Right.
matters.
Size matters. The color matters. The pattern matters.
Motion in the ocean.
The shape matters.
The
The
shape,
range of motion.
The range of motion.
All of it.
Matters.
the control, the tempo.
Oh boy, what an
All right,
episode.
all right.
Are we doing more?
Yes, the ones I asked for.
What? what did you ask for? Oh, Jesus Christ. So you do it, dude.
I don't think they're on there, so I'll just ask them.
Okay.
I don't
Just-
remember what they were actually worded like, but one of the questions was I put on my Instagram for people to ask about exercise tools, meaning like chains, bands, BFR. So let's talk a little bit about those three. Let's just keep it at those three and why they're important, how you could use them. Maybe not why they're important, because I don't think that they're necessarily important, but how and when they are useful and
Is
why.
it because like people get overwhelmed with the amount of equipment that they
Right.
think they should be using but don't necessarily have
Of
to?
course.
Yeah.
And also, we live in a world of social media. You see people lifting with chains, and you're like, oh, that looks cool, but you don't really understand.
Banded, chained,
yeah.
underhand,
Right.
front grip, row.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Joel
So,
Seedman.
exactly.
Name drop.
90 degree, baby. 90 degree.
Eccentric isometrics.
All right. So,
Love that guy.
let's start with
We need a guest.
variable resistance, which are both chains and bands. The reason it's variable resistance is because as you go through the movement, the amount of resistance that you're going to get is going to change. With a band, the more you stretch that band, the more resistance that band is going to give you. With a chain, let's say you're doing squats with chains, you're attaching the chains to the side of the barbell, and the chains are they should be in contact with the floor. As you go up in your squat, you're going to start picking up more and more links of that chain, so the movement is going to get heavier. So I want to talk about why those things could be beneficial, when you would want to be able to use those things, and why maybe you don't need them when you first start.
Okay. I want to give my anecdotal evidence when it comes to powerlifting and using the chains and the bands, because there's a little controversy when it comes to it with raw powerlifting and gear powerlifting. And so raw lifters are not wearing, like the squat suit, the deadlift suit, the bench press suit. They're just lifting with their body, and they're adding a belt and some sleeves and some wrist wraps, if anything, if they add something to benefit them. But when I trained with bands, the bands taught me how to grind the squat and the deadlift more, because of what you said. As you start picking up the links off the floor, the lift got harder. And usually when you're a raw powerlifter, when you squat, the hardest position is the bottom position. And then as you get out of the bottom position, it's pretty much like if you get out of the bottom position, there's a high chance you're going to complete the squat. And also same thing for the bench press. For the deadlift, it changes. Depends on which one you do, and another topic of discussion. But when I use bands, it taught me how to grind the lift. So that's when I was the strongest that I have ever been on squats and deadlifts, even as a raw powerlifter. And that's like something that raw powerlifters don't believe in. They're like, there's no point of us using that because our hardest position is usually always at the bottom, not at the top. But just by tricking the nervous system to explode through the whole range of motion, because the bands and the chains are getting harder as you come up, it benefits the regular lift without the bands and the chains, in my anecdotal experience.
Yeah. What about you, Nick?
I usually use those tools whenever I need to dissect a certain part of the range of motion that needs more strengthening. So, in the opposite of what you just said. If there's, for example, my client's having trouble locking out on the triceps, which is actually a problem that I faced when I was
talking about bench.
Yeah. Well, or even like an overhead press,
Mm-hmm.
and you push your movement, then I think a band would be a good strategy. That being said, I also think there are other ways to do it. Again, it's just a tool. So if you do want to strengthen the the shortened range of elbow extension, which is here, you could do isometrics for it if you want. You can do a tricep exercises specifically for that movement if you're like a tape press.
Right.
There are other ways to do it. The band would just be another one of them. It's like how many weapons do you want working for you when you're trying to win a war?
Right.
I'd say as many as I can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Especially the more advanced that you get, you want to have these tools available to you because it takes more stimulus for change to happen. So this is what I'm going to say about these things. I like these tools for several reasons. One of the biggest reasons is the strength curve. So with most exercises, like Jose was saying, there are harder positions and easier positions. With the squat, for example, like Jose was saying, the bottom position tends to be the hardest position to come out of, to produce force in. If you use chains, you will be able to match the strength curve with the chains. That way, the movement feels natural because you can go heavier through the top of the movement and get a louder stimulus at the top of the movement through the nervous system. And as you go down, you're not risking that fail at the bottom of the rep because you're laying down the chains on the floor. This also can be used as not a recovery mechanism. Chains are a little bit tougher. I think that chains give a little bit more mechanical stress. However, let's say that you are squatting every day. You could also use this as a tool so that you can squat semi-heavy, but also not heavy at the bottom. So like managing stress, this can also be a tool for managing stress. Bands, The reason I really like bands specifically for the movements that we're talking about, like deadlifts, squats, bench, they really emphasize the eccentric. Because it's giving you a stronger pull at the top of the rep, you really have to start controlling from the top of the rep to the bottom, more so than you would if you were just using free weights without the variable resistance. Another good thing about bands is that you don't need gravity to be the defining factor of where the band is coming from. So you can add these tools from other directions to create resistance, let's say anteriorly, posteriorly, superior to inferior, rather than just with the chains. It's only going to work with gravity. So the bands are always good for that. Also, bands are great for traveling workouts. If you're somebody that travels, like, they're great because they're lightweight. It's not like you're carrying around dumbbells, so you have to go and work out with dumbbells. That would be terrible. Yeah. I know there's a guy on Instagram that does that. The one that deadlifts. I've sent you guys the post where he like goes to like icebergs and take his bar and takes his plates and deadlifts there. You could just take bands. No, don't take bands because it actually looks really cool. But yeah, so it's a tool that's very versatile. You can do almost anything with bands, but also using them as accessories for your main lifts is useful. Is very effective. Now BFR.
Wait, hold on, because I want to give more benefits when it comes to the bands.
And I have a controversial question.
Because the bands, you can actually end up doing more volume with them because they don't beat up your joints so much.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, I've used bands also as a recovery method. So if I'm very, very sore, let's say on my biceps, the next day I'll do banded bicep curls just to drive some blood flow to my biceps. And then the next day I feel much better, less stiff. So you can also use bands as a little recovery method, low intensity, high repetitions, get some blood flow, and be ready for the next workout.
Absolutely.
I do have a question, and this is a reel that I made recently that has not come out yet, but it's being edited right now. What do you guys feel about bodybuilders that use the band on a hack squat to prevent their joints from getting irritated at the bottom position?
How do they use the band in the hack squat?
So it pulls the opposite way of the hack squat. So the bottom position of the hack squat would be the easiest.
So they put it from the top.
Chris Bumstead did it while on prep, and then everybody started doing it.
So it's like a reverse band, pretty much.
Yeah, it makes the lift
So
easier.
you attach the band to
So
the top.
basically, bro, they load up more weight and then put a band to decrease the amount of load that they receive from the bigger load.
I mean, it's the same thing as doing it the other way, but you would just put less weight.
Right, because the band.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. It's a different stimulus. I mean, when you're performing your exercises, like, not all muscle fibers are gonna be fired, depending on the position that you're at. And so maybe Chris Bumstead is trying to emphasize other areas of his quads rather than when he stretches more. Like, what was his explanation?
So his explanation for it is that it was easier on his joints.
Easier on, okay. So if you have joint problems and beat up, and we know that happens with bodybuilders that are taking, drugs. I think he's just trying to be safe.
Yeah.
Because
he was also close to prep. He was like lean.
Right. So that here, what he's doing, he's trying to not risk injury. Because in the past couple of years, he's been getting injured pretty frequently. He tore his bicep, he tore a hamstring. So he is just trying to take away pressure from those areas that most likely, that's where the tears happen. The tears happen when the muscles are overly stretched with a lot of load. And so when you go down into a half squat, the bottom position, that's when you're stretching the quad the most. Yeah. Right? And so by him adding the band to pull, it becomes less difficult
at the bottom
and less of a deep stretch under load. So I think he's just trying to protect his quads or whatever muscle he's trying to work to not tear. At the same time, he's doing a lot of repetitions so he can get a nice pump and still look amazing on stage. Yeah. So I think he was just trying to be safe.
I think
in my from what I think, because like if you were to put the bands in reverse, the band is now throwing you down. Yeah. And so there's the overspeed eccentric. And that overspeed eccentric, if your joints or your connective tissue are not ready for that, you can tear one of those connective tissues or tear a quad. So I think that he did it in reverse because the band is not throwing him down.
It's bringing him up.
It's actually slowing him down.
Yeah. So my question was,
I
I
like
guess
that. I
it was-
hadn't thought about that.
it was less referring to the fact that Chris Bumstead does it, and it's more referring to the fact that everybody else started doing it after him.
Or everybody else started doing it because he does it. Okay,
Correct.
there's
Yeah,
no, they
for
don't
sure.
understand why he was doing it. Okay, he just said, "Oh, to protect my joints," but you can protect your joints in many ways. Like you,
So my argument in
yeah.
the video that I was referring to that hasn't come out yet, but it will be coming out
Uh-huh.
soon, I guess, is that takes away from contracting at the lengthened position of your quads, which is taking away your gains, while you don't necessarily have to because you're not going through the same problems that Chris Bumstead is going through.
right? The thing is, like, people that are probably doing it are not taking the drugs that he's taking,
Correct.
which puts
And
them at
lifting
a,
the way that
it
he's
put-
lifting.
lifting the way that he's lifting, because what he's doing is what bodybuilding. Let's be clear, bodybuilding is not healthy.
Mm-mm.
Okay, so like this guy is taking his body to the limit. Like every single workout,
Most professional sports
more
are
professionals
not healthy.
Are not healthy, and so Chris Bumstead is taking his body to the limit every single time that he works out, just to get an extra 1 or 2 pounds of muscle per year, because he's at that point. He's not at that point.
Put that
that
into
he's not-
perspective, dude. That's like so much work for so little
Right,
rewards.
right.
Yeah.
He's at that point that he's not adding 15 pounds of muscle per. No, like he is at the point that he has to freaking take a higher dosage of testosterone or whatever other anabolic hormones that he's taking. He has to train just as often, eat more, sleep more, recover more, like manage stress more, just to get an extra 1 or 2 pounds per year,
If that
if that. So what he's doing is smart for his
case.
situation.
Yeah.
But everybody else that is not doing what he's doing, that is not a professional, like you're kind of robbing yourself from developing stronger connective tissues or more range of motion or building more muscle mass, which will help you. Because I'm pretty sure that he didn't start his bodybuilding journey doing that kind of hack squat.
Yeah.
It is now that he's doing it,
Yeah.
not when he started doing it, when he started lifting.
I'll tell you what, though. I think that most people do it not because of the scientific reason that Jose explained, which actually makes perfect sense. But if you put the bands below and they're pulling you down, you're going to have to put less weight on the bar. If you put the bands above,
They overload it.
you can
You
put
overload
more weight
more.
on the bar and
Yeah.
it looks cooler. And I think that that's why most people do it.
Mm-hmm.
Not because of what Jose said.
Yeah. And that's my problem with it.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get ready for the comments.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's
I'll
amazing.
get out there this time and defend you on
Oh,
this.
thanks, dude.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. People love shading on my comments. Nice.
All right, and the last one, BFR. So blood flow restriction. This is actually not new, but it has been making the rounds recently more often. It is. It's also called occlusion, and what it is just restricting the blood flow in a certain limb, so that you can accumulate more metabolites. So that the metabolites are that thing that give you the pump. So you're literally making the muscle more acidic faster. You're accumulating more plasma in the muscle. You're getting the muscle to fill with blood, and you're restricting the amount of blood that can leave the limb, so you get a better pump. And like I was talking about earlier, it's proven that those metabolites and that pump actually creates hypertrophy itself. There are a lot of uses for this. One of the uses is the same thing that we were just talking about, which is just having a day that you're getting a louder stimulus without necessarily lifting a lot of weight. So like, let's say you could put the BFR straps on your thighs and squat. You're going to get a pump from the squats without having to go as heavy. If anything, you're not going to be able to go as heavy because you're getting that blood flow restriction. So you're still getting a big stimulus because you're getting that pump, you're getting those metabolites, you're getting that signal, but you're not having to go as heavy. This is also an amazing tool in physical therapy because of the same exact reason, because we can get a bigger stimulus without putting the joints under too much load. So you could literally grab a 1 pound dumbbell, put a BFR strap on your arm and do curls, and you're gonna get a massive pump from that one arm dumbbell. So it is a very, very useful tool. Not a lot of people have it. I mean, you could use a lot of things to wrap around. There are actual BFR straps that I would recommend getting because you don't want to do it too tight,
Right.
because that can be dangerous. Like you can actually like hurt yourself if you're putting it on too tight. So there are actual BFR bands, but I've seen a lot of people use like knee sleeves to kind of create, not knee sleeves, sorry, knee straps.
Knee straps.
to create that.
Knee wraps.
Knee wraps and elbow wraps as well to create some type of BFR mechanism.
There was a time a few years ago before the pandemic where a lot of bodybuilders were also using that BFR. The BFR
super
thing,
popular,
yeah,
right?
It got very popular all of a sudden, and you saw a lot of people in the gym
Yeah.
doing it, putting their wrist knee wraps on their quads when doing leg extensions and doing bicep curls. Again, they weren't doing it because of the scientific facts or anything like that. They were just doing it because they saw their favorite bodybuilder do it, and so they were like, "Oh, if he did it, and his arms are 22 inches, I'm gonna do the same thing too."
That's what I've
But again, this
The
one,
secret.
this one, the BFR thing is the same thing as the band that Chris Bumstead is now doing. They're using that so they can use less load to put less strain on the.
Whoa.
I'm sorry. That was not meant to
funny.
happen.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yes, so Jose was saying.
Yeah. So they're using the BFR so that they can use less load, put less strain on their joints. That way, it's less of a risk for them to get injured, and they can compete and continue to, become better bodybuilders.
I'm sorry. That was really funny.
It is.
But it's true. Yeah. So exactly. Yep. All right.
That sidetracked me completely. I'm like completely lost my train of thought.
Do we have more questions or are we done?
I think we're done,
We're
guys.
done. He was
Yeah.
closing the thing, and,
I was
and then
closing
he
it
hit
up.
it.
Yeah.
It's his fault.
Yeah. Sorry. We're already a little bit over time too. Yeah. So
Shit.
closing down this episode on a amazing fashion with me giving you guys a ear blast by accident. I hope you guys enjoyed the second part of the Q&A. Gentlemen, please reintroduce or say bye to yourselves.
Andres, AC_perform strong on Instagram and Twitter and TikTok as well. And coming soon, website.
Oh, beautiful.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's going to be acperformstrong.com. Right now, there's nothing on there, but soon there will be a lot on there.
You've been saying
will
soon
wanna
for
check
3
it out.
episodes. You know that, right?
Yeah, I know. 2 weeks. There we go.
There we go.
2 semanas.
Sensei.
Jose at Lifting for the Better on Instagram, TikTok, and liftingforthebetter.com. I didn't mention that one in the
Earlier?
in the beginning.
Yeah. Nick at NB Performance Training and at NB Performance on TikTok. Feel free to follow me, like my stuff, and get my cars routine that I have up for free on my bio. Awesome. Next episode will be we'll have some more guests, most likely in person.
Yep.
Yeah. So stay tuned for that. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Peace.